Kirk Cousins is at odds with the Atlanta Falcons front office. He wants the team to do him a solid. Cut him, let him get an opportunity to start for another team, while the Atlanta Falcons get nothing in return but a dead cap hit of $75 million and putting the team in cap hell. What Kirk Cousins needs to do, instead of throwing a hissy fit around the Atlanta Falcons organization, he needs to restructure his deal and then go to the Atlanta Falcons and ask for a trade. No team is going to take on that contract. What's difficult for Kirk Cousins is that he hasn't been in a situation like this where he has no leverage. Normally, he's been able to scam teams out of millions of dollars for above average quarterback play at best, but get compensated like one of the better quarterbacks. Well, you can't do that anymore when you just got benched for, at the time, a rookie quarterback in Michael Penix, when the team was 6-3 on top of the division. Then you go a whole month throwing more interceptions than you do touchdowns, and then you end up throwing the Atlanta Falcons out of the playoffs. Kirk Cousins signing that deal in free agency was another scam on his behalf, on his agent. Whoever his agent is, he has to be one of the richest agents in all the sports, with all the money that Kirk Cousins has helped this brother get paid off from. He just continues to find a way to finesse these teams, and he can't do it no longer. You're not going to force the Atlanta Falcons to take that $75 million dead cap hit. If the Atlanta Falcons put themselves in cap hell for the sake of just getting rid of Kirk Cousins, Terry Fontenot has to get fired. He already should have been fired, but I'll give him a little bit of some slack, because he has hit on a few draft picks on the offensive side of the football. Outside of Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Drake London have been really good. Michael Penix, I love him a lot. I feel like he's going to turn into a really good quarterback. But getting rid of Kirk Cousins does nothing but put the Atlanta Falcons in an unfavorable situation. It's going to be really hard to overcome that big of a cap hit. You already took a massive cap hit years ago when you decided to move on from Matt Ryan, which in hindsight might have not have been the best decision at the time. If Kirk Cousins wants to get an opportunity to start next season, he needs to restructure his deal. And if you're not willing to do that, stop pouting. If I'm Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris, if you don't want to show up to OTAs, cool, sit out. If you don't want to show up to training camp, cool, we don't really need you anyway. You're a backup. Michael Penix is a starter. And if you choose to sit out this season, cool. We don't have to pay you anything. You lose money. You don't help yourself out in this situation. Kirk Cousins will be a fool not to be the backup for one more year and then allow the Atlanta Falcons to cut him next season. And then he has another opportunity to maybe start again. Right now, with how late into the offseason we are, with the draft being just around the corner, it doesn't really do him no good trying to manufacture a trade at this point when he's not willing to restructure. If you were willing to restructure, then it makes it a little bit easier, because then teams are more willing to trade for you on a reduced rate, although you are coming off a down season and you do have some injury concerns. A team like Cleveland will be willing to give up a third or fourth round pick for you as long as they don't have to take on this massive contract that you have. The common sense isn't making sense when it comes to Kirk Cousins, and that's the prime reason why I question why common sense is called common sense if everybody doesn't seem to have it. Kirk Cousins knows doggone well, with the place that he is at in this state of his career, being up there in age, regressing, coming off a terrible season, where he just completely fell apart in the second half of it, and yet he still thinks that he's some desirable quarterback, that his contract is going to be something that teams are going to want to have on their books for what he's been this last couple of years. Yeah. Kirk Cousins needs to get a grip on reality. He needs a reality check. And the reality check that the Atlanta Falcons are giving him right now should tell him, okay, if I really want to get out, I need to restructure my deal. It's not that freaking complicated. You know, every day I wake up and I keep seeing these reports about Kirk Cousins being frustrated. I say this is a you problem, Kirk Cousins, because if you would have played better and you would have been the player that the Atlanta Falcons thought they were getting when they gave you all that money and they end up getting in trouble for tampering, you wouldn't be in that position. If you are willing to restructure your deal, take less to play for another team, the one to trade for you, you would be off the Falcons by now. But no, Kirk Cousins is trying to have his cake and eat it too. And that's why he's going nowhere. The Atlanta Falcons, for the first time in a while, I actually agree with the front office stance that they're taking, which is holding firm on keeping Kirk Cousins there in the A. It was a nice story when Kirk Cousins was balling out. He had that insane game on Thursday night against the Buccaneers. He had that insane comeback Monday night against the Philadelphia Eagles. But the honeymoon phase is over. Where Kirk Cousins is at this stage of his career is probably a bottom 5 quarterback. He's a statue in the pocket. He can't move. His decision-making has gone down the drain. He had tunnel vision during the second half of the Atlanta Falcons season. The dude was throwing more interceptions to the other team than he was touchdowns to his own teammates. Kirk needs to stop making this such a big issue. Why are you just not okay with being the highest paid backup in NFL history? You know that no other team is going to guarantee you a starting job. They would be foolish to. And who at this point is even going to be wanting the trade for you? The Tennessee Titans aren't. The only feasible destination is the Cleveland Browns due to the connection that you have with Kevin Stefanski. Even then, I'd rather take a shot at Shedeur Sanders than invest in Kirk Cousins with how he has just come away with scamming all of these franchises for so many years. The Atlanta Falcons got to stand on all 10. Yes, having Kirk Cousins may not vote well for the locker room, but Kirk Cousins isn't one of those guys that I feel would be a diva in the locker room. I don't believe that Kirk Cousins is inauthentic. When he got benched in favor of Michael Penix, he was the first person that called Michael Penix to congratulate him. I don't think that Kirk Cousins plays this facade nice guy character. I really believe that he is a genuinely nice guy. If he wasn't, then we would know it by now. There would be plenty of stories of people coming out bashing his character anonymously. Like, we've had plenty of people spoke out against Russell Wilson and his character. You know, Russell Wilson is this guy that's perceived to be this nice, good guy, but once you get into the locker room, you know, guys feel differently about him. Kirk Cousins isn't that kind of person. But if he wants to have an opportunity to start again, he has to restructure that deal. It just doesn't make sense for the Falcons to cut him and get